General Weygand has called the Battle of France is over. The Battle of Britain is about to begin.
Welcome to the Lead Pursuit Podcast, a podcast covering Blood Red Skies, a game of World War II aerial combat. Welcome back to the Lead Pursuit Podcast. So tonight we're going to sit around and talk about a couple things we've seen out for some intel out there in the bigger world. We're going to talk about some projects we're working on. We're going to talk a little bit about some solo play things coming up, and then we're going to talk through some of your questions. But first, Chris, let's talk a little bit about what we've seen out there. I know you and Brett were talking about these Schooner Labs 2-part skill discs from Etsy. Did you get a good chance to take a good look at those?
I did, and dude, I'm just like so holding back from ordering them like a set of like 200 in multiple colors and
well, you don't have as many models as Brett.
And,
you don't have to fill out all of those again. So.
Dude, it's just so tempting because they are gorgeous discs. I mean, they're just oh, that is a cool idea. Whoever came up with that, you are a rock star.
And I think it's cool on both counts. It is, first of all, cool to be able to go out and order the single piece ones and just buy as many as you need of whatever you have gaps in, and the 2-part ones. So the fact that you can leave the main disc on there and then just change out the pilot skill part, and you've got all the arcs and everything you need, and you're just changing out what pilot skill that pilot is based on how you're using them in that scenario or how you've moved them up. And that probably would also be good for things like Sandstorm, where you've got a campaign system, and so your pilots may be changing, and if you have customized models with customized nose art for various pilots, hey, you can just change out their pilot skill as it improves, and it seems pretty neat.
Yeah, it's a really great system. I mean, it's something that, maybe we can talk to the guys at Warlord and see if they could, think about something like that in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we also were going to talk about some decal softener and decal fixer from Green Stuff World. I've used some of their things in a variety of different mediums and stuff. Have you had a chance to try the decal softener?
I have not used their decal softener and their decal fix, but I'm a big fan of Green Stuff World. I got their cable roller years ago, being a Mechanicum player.
Yeah.
For
I
doing
remember when you got that, and you're like, "Thank God!"
It is the coolest thing in the world. I mean, I've gotten so many compliments on my Archmagos model that I did. That's a conversion because everybody's like, "Oh my God, all those hoses and everything." I was like, "Yeah, that's all."
Was that the guy that got like 40 bolter shots taken on him and killed him? Was that guy? I forgot. Okay, yeah, that guy. Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure.
Fucking Imperial Fists.
Sorry. Yeah, so I haven't had a chance to use it. And so once again, I use Microsol Microset. That's kind of what I'm used to, what's in my wheelhouse, where my comfort level is. But it's always good to try other products out there. While I do make fun of you, Chris, and to a lesser extent Brett, I don't think he's as bad of the paint addict as you are. It's always good to go try different mediums because they're all going to behave slightly differently. And especially with decal softener and fixers, the chemical makeup there is going to either speed or slow the process. And so you may have to change your technique a little bit.
Yep.
All right, well, let's move on pretty quick. Let's talk about some things we've actually picked up and worked on. I know Brett has worked with the Flight Deck decals, the Flight Deck 2400 scale decals. Those are awesome. I will leave those to what's going to come up on Instagram here in the next couple days. I don't want to take too much of his thunder, but if you don't want to paint little lines on your carriers, I have to recommend the guys at Flight Deck Decals because their stuff looks awesome. And Brett's been using it. He'll demo some of those carriers that he's done, and it certainly makes getting above a table-ready level of detail to be pretty quick. But one of the things we talked about the Treehouse clear acrylic gloss coating, and I don't use it. I know Chris, you talked about it. Brett had used it. A bunch of us were talking about it. What were some other things about that gloss coat that you'd found? You've been using it specifically for decals, right?
Well, I'm not using Treehouse, and this is what happened. Brett mentioned the Treehouse and said, dude, this is the best thing in the world for putting Flurry Wash down, because if you let your Flurry Wash sit, a lot of times if you're using like an AK Interactive or some of those other companies that do the spray through the airbrush, acrylic gloss coats, semi-coats, or matte coats, the problem with it is there's still, even with the gloss coat, I think when you have Flurry, which is an acrylic medium that's got clay in it, and then you put it over the top of something that is like AK Interactive's acrylic-based freaking gloss coat, I think there's still some ability for those two to combine. But when you use an enamel based gloss coat, which is what Brett hit on when he found the treehouse stuff. It seems to, and I did the experiment. I couldn't get treehouse because, of course, because of what's going on right now, Hobby Lobby is shut down and I didn't have time. But my Meijer store, which is basically the northern Walmart, for all you people that live below the Mason-Dixon line, I went to Meijer and they had regular old Rust-Oleum clear coat. And I sprayed it on, had the exact same experience that Brett is finding with the treehouse.
That may be what I have to shift to. But you know what?
Yep.
That asshole John Russell jumped in at one point and started talking about matte. I mean, what the fuck does he know?
Hey, I'm shaking my can right now, you son of a bitch. I'm ready to go. Say, can you hear that bubble? I love my treehouse shit, buddy.
Who invited that guy? Who let him in our podcast?
I snuck in. I heard you guys were talking tonight, so I decided I'd jump in.
Exactly. Tell us about it.
I've been using this stuff for about a year, and it's $7.99, $8.99 a can. You go down your Hobby Lobby, your local place, and this stuff has never frosted on me. It's never overloaded. If you put too much on a miniature, sometimes you get like that extra chunky stuff on there. It never happens. It's never welled up. Yep. It's never frosted. It's any kind of temperature, any kind of humidity, especially here in Oklahoma. I've never had any problem with this treehouse stuff. I can't swear by it. But now I swear by it. I can't praise it enough. Now I do know that some of the guys out there like to do a gloss coat. And because a gloss coat is always thicker on the spray than a matte coat because it's a little thinner. So some of the guys out there will do a gloss coat or whatever, and then the matte coat. I just do a couple, one or two matte coats of this clear acrylic treehouse stuff. I mean, I love this stuff right here. It's just it's the bee's knees. It's great stuff.
No huffing the gloss coat and matte coat there. Come on.
Hey, now, if you run out of alcohol, because you're all sequestered, you got to go with something, right?
Exactly. Got to take something up here. Well, that's good to know with the differences between the matte and the gloss, because I'm a creature of habit, and so I've always used brush-on gloss coat, because once again, with a gloss coat, I can be sloppy with it. It's going to flow out. It's going to even out. And it's just it's my comfort level. I would like to transition to a spray coat, but almost every single one that I'd gone out there and talked about had one or two people going, hey man, it frosted my miniature, or hey man, it worked great until it got to be 52 degrees, and so it was one of those kind of things that I was really hesitant of. So I'm absolutely on board trying it, and I probably, John, will do exactly what you say. I'm going to try the matte coat, and I just want to do something different on this next set of aircraft, and try that rather than my brush-on GW hard coat, just to see if I can get in there, get the flurry wash on, and then go decaling and put the final matte coat on.
You do the gloss coat, then the flurry and the decal.
Right.
I do the opposite. I do all the stuff, then I seal it.
Yeah, see, I just did with the Rust-Oleum gloss, and I'll put a picture of it on the website, which is just a regular Rust-Oleum gloss. And I was doing it when we had a pouring thunderstorm outside. So it was in my wife's garage stall spraying the model. And then because it's still 50 degrees outside, I was shifting into my closed garage stall for my car next door and putting them in there to let the fumes go away before I brought them in the house. And it worked perfect. Now, what I did was gloss coat, decals, gloss coat, flurry wash, because I like my flurry to sit on top of my decals.
Ah, okay.
And
I'm 50-50 on that.
Let's I'll tell you this, for a second, when you try it with the gloss, which there were times when I did decals before where I was using the gloss coat from AK Interactive and I was putting my flurry over that, where my decals were getting matted down and were getting ugly. Yeah, but with the gloss from Rust-Oleum, then putting the decal in and then sealing it in with another gloss coat and I let it dry overnight, which you probably don't have to, but I let it dry overnight just because I could. And I put flurry on it. And because Brett said, you can leave it set, which you could not do with the AK Interactive stuff, I was like, well, we're just going to try it because I can repaint these. I'm sitting in quarantine anyway. So I let all of my Mossies sit for it was like a whole day. Went back with the Q-tip, cleaned the flurry off. Absolutely perfect. There is barely any flurry that stuck to the coating, and what did tiny bits stick in, like the white, the duck egg white that's on the bottom of the freaking Mossies, it just looks like weathering. It looks like it's dirty, like an airplane that actually rolled down a runway.
So that was going to be my question: was did because this is getting way scientific on you here, but was it the the decal setting that was blurring the edges enough that when you gloss coated it the second time, there was no decal edge for the Flurry to stick to, so it only stuck in panel lines.
The other thing I did different this time than I usually do is usually I do use a decal setter. I use Microset and Microsol. Because I had read online that you don't have to when you use the gloss coats like this. I tried that. You can't see where my decals start.
Wow.
And they were straight up. And by the way, the Warlord freaking Moss decals, if I got a critique, those things are like freaking hard as rocks.
Yeah. Well, so that's my experience on all the Warlord decals, which is funny.
You
which is fine for me.
Soak the effing hell out of those things.
Which is so funny because I'm so used to Kevin's
like,
miscellaneous mini one tonight.
Kevin's stuff is just a dream.
They see the water, and all of a sudden they're ready to slide.
You guys just need to buy a nice country villa for Kevin near Nottingham. Bring him over, give him a printer, and just cut him loose. I think he'd be the happiest man in the world. Yeah. And you guys would have the finest decals in all of modeling.
Yeah.
Talk about people sneaking in. I think somebody else snuck in here.
Yeah, well, everybody just keeps letting people into this chat room. Brett all of a sudden decided to join us. Well,
oh, great. We got one of the spring breakers from Florida in here
exactly.
now. Now we're all going to get sick.
Florida boy.
So, yeah, I think I've always done the paint the model, Flurry wash, decal, and then seal. And I've never done the multiple layers like you guys are talking, so I got some time now. Maybe I'll have to go try that.
It just weathers. It puts the decal, especially if you got a decal like on the Mossies. You've got that forward line of the wing that roundel sits up against, and if you do the Flurry over that, it just sinks in enough that you get a line right on the decal in it. Oh my God! It just this whole other layer of making it look like it was painted on there. Than if it didn't.
Nice. Paint your model, seal it, decal it, seal it, Flurry seal it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, yeah, and when I seal with I honestly use AK for everything except my final seal coat. And for this scale, I have not found a better seal coat than the satin finish from freaking Vallejo at $3 a bottle. There's just something about it. It has the right amount of shine, the right amount of matte. It just anything else looks too shiny or looks too matted down. I've tried, because I use ultra matte on a lot of my 30K models, but it just, when I put ultra matte on these models because they're so small, the contrast doesn't look as good. It just doesn't look alive anymore. It doesn't look like a natural
The funny thing
airplane.
is I have like 5 different Vallejo coats that I have to try out there. And to be honest, I kind of went back into using their standard matte, just because that was so low sheen. That on the airplanes, at least, it didn't make it look too artificial.
Nice.
All right, well, we're going to move on to the flight line and talk about what we're working on. A few things that specifically Brett's been working on. I know he's been working on B-29s, working on some targets for Midway and for Malta. Brett, fill us in on all the details.
Man, I'm putting my time in lockdown into good use, I guess. Our states just ordered the stay-at-home order, which we were already doing anyway. So anyway, I've got a bunch of stuff going on. I've been talking about my silly pile of resin. So I whittled some of that down. I'm just about done with another B-29. This time I did Command Decision from Korea. So that's going to look real nice. I am simply waiting for, I did a funny thing, like my last.
Yeah, so how did you damage your airplane? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was putting the prop discs on like I did on the last one, and I wasn't gentle, and I broke one. And I only had 4, which is exactly what I needed. So long story short, the thing is all done except for the one prop disc. I'm waiting for some more in the mail. But anyway, so that should look real nice. I'll get pictures of that up soon. I'm also working on a couple of targets for airstrike. One is they're both carriers. One from Malta. I got the HMS Illustrious that I'm working on. I think it's going to look real nice. And the Yorktown for our Pacific boards. And
now, did you use those flight deck decals that we talked about earlier on either one of those, or is that only on the Japanese?
No, I did it on the Yorktown, and it looks really good. And probably tomorrow I'll get it done on Illustrious. I just finished painting Illustrious, so I got to get the decal on. But they're pretty cool. If you haven't seen them, there's a place, actually, our buddy Kevin told us all about them. And It's a place called Flight Deck Decals. Apparently, all they do, just like the name suggests, are decals for aircraft flight decks. And I got them at...
Proof positive there are some serious nerds out there.
Yeah.
If you're supporting yourself making decals of scale model carriers.
Look, I'm telling you, I don't know their whole range, but if you go to flightdeckdecals2400.com, you'll find what I found. I found 2400 scale carrier deck decals, and they're working for me. I think it just made the Yorktown look all that much better, and it's going to do the same thing for Illustrious.
Yeah, I'm all over it. I painted one of the Japanese carriers, and it's escaping me now. But anyway, when I painted it the other day, the one thing I didn't like was I don't like the flight deck decals. There are the lines that I put on there. I try to do them with masking tape, but at that scale, it just doesn't come out right, and I needed a crisper line. And I even looked at some of the Forge World Horus Heresy decals, but none of them were skinny enough for what I wanted, so I'm definitely going to check that out.
Do they do like a decal for the Japanese ones that made it look like a battleship or a cruiser? You know, that kind of funky little paint, or is it just all lines and stuff?
Yeah, the fake camouflage one that they used to use.
I don't recall. I don't know their whole range. It's been a little while since I ordered the decals, and I was looking specifically for those two carriers because I already had the models for them. But we should do some clicking and see what their total range looks like. I would guess they might have that kind of stuff.
So what else have you been working on, Brett?
Let's see. I just got a big box of stuff, and
is that from that same jerk that keeps shipping me stuff too? I mean,
hey, dude, if I don't have to paint it, man, if I pay somebody, there you go.
hey, you know, so I ask for Judge Dredd, and what do I get? I get a 1980s board game that I actually have to move counters around. Holy crap! I have to read rules. What?
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll love it. Trust me.
I know, and we're appreciative. I'm appreciative you sent Rolling Thunder my way. Do a little War Games research on.
Dude, I just pulled up the Flight Deck decal site and pulled up the IGN Midway carriers. Oh my god, sploosh!
Yeah, no Game-gasms, as we were talking about. No Game-gasms.
Those are so sexy. I want to know who builds those models because I've got to have them. They are just freaking insane. Not the decals alone, but the ships with the tiny little airplanes on them and everything. That is just freaking amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm going to get some pictures up before the end of the week on those two carriers I just finished. I think the decals just make them look that much better. I mean, we're talking, 5-6 inch long models are not very big, but those little decals make it just all that much nicer. It's cool. So anyway, I was telling you about the stuff I'm working on, some more stuff I'm working on. I just got today a box in the mail from somebody. I'm doing a little trade, a little barter. So Mr. John...
enough discs in that box?
Man, that was a pile of stuff. Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, John sent me a whole pile of skill discs. And
John, you realized you could have got some really sloppy Ranger sex in pink panties for those discs, right? if there is one thing that Brett was like willing to sell his soul and his body for, it was more discs. At every turn. Hey, you got to. It's like. What are Tyrone Biggums from freaking the internet, like scratching himself? You got any more of them flight discs over there?
He asked for a specific number of different ones, and I'm like, okay, I'll send them to him. But you realize these are double-sided. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just send you what you asked for. And there's some special ones in there, like the 4.5s you don't get too many of. But, I figured I'll just take care of them, and I threw some extras in there. So, and you've got some experimental stuff from Litco in there for those different big sizes of props. And then those thin ones, I don't know where I got those from, but I figured you could probably use those as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm going to John sent me a box of 262s in Nawanti, so I'm going to paint those up for him in exchange for those discs. And I'm doing Johnny Red in the Falcons.
Johnny!
So that'll be cool. I just started working on the Falcons today. I'm getting them all prepped and ready to prime, so probably get some primer on them.
Have you read the comic yet, Brett?
No, I have not.
Oh God, that is definitely something you need to pick up on eBay. It's on Amazon. It's cheap. I think it's on Prime. It's like I want to say it's like $12 for all the comics together in one volume. It's great. That's a must read if you're painting that.
That's cool.
The one that we're all grown men here and stuff, but there's one in there. There's a storyline that about the Hurricane, and it almost had me in tears towards the end because it's one of those. billionaire dude finds a hurricane. He wants to get it restored. Then he goes and tries to find the background. So they go back into Johnny's history and the whole story about it and stuff. And then, towards the end, I don't want to spoil it too much, but, he comes on the line to give it the first flight. And he goes, yeah, some old guy and his wife are looking around. I'm like, oh, Jesus, that hit me right in the heart, because there's some stuff in that. The graphics are great. The storyline is great. There's a twist in there about the Stalingrad stuff and Hitler and Stalin, but they're great. They're 1970s, but man, they'll grab you.
Yeah, it was really good story and great graphic design. I mean, as a graphic novel, it really stood up.
That's cool. I need some references anyway for the paint, right? So I know what I'm doing.
Exactly. And then I think I sent you guys the picture in one of the messengers about the Out of the Blue with all the Mozzies, and that's another great graphic novel that's got some good graphics for if you want to paint some Mozzies and some good storylines as well.
Did you guys already talk about those Mossies you painted, Chris?
Chris talked a little bit about it.
Just a tiny bit when we were talking about the decal stuff. But yeah, I got my first 4 Mossies of the set of 6 done. And by the way, John Russell, if you can pull any strings, if there's anybody that you have like sexual evidence on that you can blackmail at Warlord, please make more plastic models. Those damn Mossies are the coolest, the easiest model I've ever. It's the most beautiful airplane I've ever worked on.
I think their Hurricane is perfect. So
their Hurricane is good too. It really is.
But as a fighter model, it takes primer well. It paints well. The lines are big enough. The only gripe I have about the Mossy is every once in a while having to fill a couple things or do a little bit of sanding.
The Focke-Wulf 190s are the same exact plastic as the Hurricanes, and those are beautiful too.
Yeah, it's like the 110, same thing.
Yeah, and we're moving more and more towards plastics and resin. So you're going to start seeing less and less of the metal, I think, and the original plastic. I don't know, upcoming stuff, what's coming in the Midway box, the type of material. I mean, we know it's going to be a Pacific aircraft, but we don't know the material of the aircraft. I'm hoping it's going to be either the Warlord resin or that plastic that we're talking about, because that's the shit right there.
Yeah, I hate to say it because it's kind of one of those business development decisions, but I think if they did it in the good gray plastic, then that would really be a winner in the U.S. because it would put the price point down a little bit, even though they'd obviously have to buy more boxes of it. But it'd bring the price point down a little bit, and you'd get people out of the worry about resin and oh my gosh, how well done are these resin models, et cetera, and all the drama we see on the internet every day about resin models. There'd be a consistency of them being that hard plastic, and I think that would help the American market.
Yeah, and I think they're still shooting for the magical $50 box set, and I think it's just gonna be like the Battle of Britain, but it'll be Midway. That's what I've been told so far, and I'm talking a little more with the guys in the AQ because apparently we all have more time on our hands right now. So I'm going to try to get some more chats with them tomorrow and talk with the guys and see if I get some more intel.
Since we didn't really get a chance to talk about it offline, I'm going to put you on the spot. Sure. I know you guys had a big meeting today. I know there's a couple things we'd put forward that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. Any news to relate from Warlord HQ? Anything?
I haven't heard anything more. The movers and shakers that I usually talk to haven't gotten back to me on that. I think it's solid, and if the Archfiend God Andy blesses it, I think we'll be fine. I'm really excited about that idea. I think we talked about it before. Right now, I'm feeling like that little frickin' squirrel from Ice Age trying to find that nut, and I have this feeling that there's something out there that needs to be done, and I got to do it fast. And I think what you guys came up with is phenomenal. It's brilliant. I think it's great. I think it's gonna be another level of gaming that, because of what we're all going through right now, reconnects us a little better. And I've chatted with some folks about it. I've chatted with Jim Swapple about some other ideas we might have for like bolt action and work for Blood Red Skies too. But I think it's great. And I talked with John on Friday, so I think I'm gonna try to get some more out of him for that. But I am very excited about what you guys came up with. It's phenomenal.
Well, let's talk about it a little bit. So everybody knows how we kind of work over on the lead pursuit team. Well, other than Chris, Chris doesn't have a day job, but Brett and I have day jobs.
Hey, wait a
Chris
minute,
is
man.
Just too busy.
Full-time college student.
Exactly.
Dude, it's rough, man. It's killing me.
He's trying to decide whether he goes to class or sleeps in every day.
It's killing me.
Exactly. So we have real-time jobs. So a lot of these projects we get into, we're not getting in to make money. We're always trying to end up, either recouping the shipping costs or whatever, whether it's selling multi-maps or selling swag or stuff like that. As we've ended up in this world where we are physically disconnected, we're all jonesing for an ability to at least face another opponent across the table. And while some of these things like the flow chart for solo play help, because at least it allows you to push models around the table and not feel like you're totally cheating. You're somewhat following some rules that Andy has set out. Some of us kind of said there's got to be a way to do this virtually. And so what we decided to try, or really I was stupid enough to try because I'm not a coder, I'm not a computer 3D modeler, we jumped onto Tabletop Simulator. And by the time this podcast drops, you'll be able to go out and see on Steam, yes, so if you're one of the Steam subscribers and you have the ability to play their games, for Tabletop Simulator, there will be a very basic Blood Red Skies download. So it won't be everything everybody wants at the get-go. And, well, once again, reference my comments about me not being a coder or a 3D modeler. I have to give credit where credit's due. First of all, thanks to Andy for not shutting me down when I first floated the idea to him and said, hey, what do you think about this? And in fact, he didn't say anything for a couple of days, which kind of scared me. But as he gave us his approval and said, hey, this is the kind of thing we want to do right now, one of the topics kind of became, well, what the heck do we do with it? Because if anyone's ever fooled around with Tabletop Simulator, you can go in there right now and download every bolt action army that exists. Yeah. Holy crap. I don't know if you've done that yet, John. Have you seen how much stuff is out there? Oh, it's hilarious because you can go down a rabbit hole that you'll be building armies and not even playing for hours and days and things like that. And I was jumping in looking for various models to use and things that we could all share and work off of. But finally, at one point, nothing that I was doing was hacking it. So thankfully, Rosalind, yes, the creator of Jet Age Edition, she came through and said, hey, let me do some modeling stuff for you. Let me model the stands. Let me help you out with some of the stuff because she obviously does stuff for 3D printing, which helped me out greatly. So Roz, thanks a ton. I was already becoming an alcoholic with the lockdown and playing on Tabletop Simulator, and you saved me from becoming worse by helping me with the models.
It's not alcoholism. It's keeping your body from being prone to the virus.
Exactly. I've learned that I'm going between coffee and alcohol, so pretty much those are my two consumptions throughout
There was
the day.
a rash of April Fool's jokes today saying that various governors were curtailing the sale of alcohol in states.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they were well received by a lot of people.
He said that he'd been waiting to drop that for the last 2 weeks, and I just had to laugh. And I'm going to say something, so I'll become very unpopular here. But in light of all that's happening, I am not one of those people that says no April Fool's jokes. I was actually drafting about 3 or 4 different ones involving Blood Red Skies, the Lead Pursuit podcast, even poking fun at Andy. And I just ran out of time today. I think humor is something the world needs right now, as dark as things are. And April Fools is a perfectly good opportunity. And so maybe there'll be April 2nd jokes from the Lead Pursuit podcast if I get off my ass. But we have to at least find something to laugh about. So back to Tabletop Simulator. What will be out there by the time this podcast drops? Hopefully something that's fairly equivalent to the Battle of Britain boxed set. A handful of ME-109s, a handful of Spitfires, some pilot discs, some dice. You're stuck with a multimap because that's what I had that I could digitize. So you get to see part of this multimap that we've been oohing and awing over.
If you're me, you're stuck with 2 multimats.
Oh, yes. Shut up. Let's not talk about my shipping problems. To my friends at Deep Cuts, I love all of you. And now Chris can make fun of me because we shipped it to him twice.
I had to get it in there.
We'll get it to Brett. So once again, the great artwork that Ivan did for us, we scaled that down. We put it to an appropriate resolution for the game. And now you can play on a 4x4 table, overhead Malta with BF-109s, Spitfires, some basic cards. Yes, there are cards in the game, so you can reference them. But this is a work in progress. And the goal isn't for Lead Pursuit to be the guys that make the final version of it. Oh no, we're making the introductory version. You, the rest of the community, you're making the follow-on versions. You're finding the models, you're releasing the updates. And the fact of the matter is, that's kind of what the Blood Red Skies Ready Room is for. So if there's something you want, or there's skills you have either in 3D modeling or in working any one of these things, coding for the games, building JSON files, if you know what a JSON file is, if you know any of these things, then pitch in and help out, and let's build something that we can all use to play Blood Red Skies and to interact with each other and to have fun. And we also know that it's never going to be a replacement for the physical models, because sure is fun pushing little pixels around, but not the same as being across the table from somebody that you loathe like Christopher and beating them handily in a game, which I haven't done for a year, so I feel really disappointed.
I know you were out in Adepticon. You didn't get to whoop my butt. I
Yeah.
mean, there's like a hole in your soul right now. So anybody who's going to play against Doug, watch out.
So we got to talk about this with John. I mean, I feel cheated. COVID-19 has crushed my chance that we were all going to sit around, drink a beer or 10.
Dude, the dream that I had, man, I tell you, we had so much stuff lined up, and a lot of people were disappointed, and it is what it is. But I mean, we had
It's one of those things.
We had Stalingrad. We had Midway. I had a 4 freaking foot long carrier ready to go. We had so much stuff, and we were bringing so much, Jeremiah Weed and Dust Gringos, and we were going to have a ball with us, and then of course all the guys from Snafu podcast were going to be there. Simon Tiffs from the UK. It was going to be glorious, but hey, it is what it is. So 2021 will be better.
That's right. Imagine what that collection will look like next year, right?
Oh, dude, it's just going to be crazy. I mean, the amount of aircraft that we were going to have on that table was going to be mind-boggling. It was just going to be something. But, hey, it is what it is, and we'll have it in another day or time, and we'll all get together and have our Jeremiah Weed, and we'll sing along with those gringos.
Exactly.
Hey, Doug, I wanted to say, I got on with you last night. We messed around with that, with the tabletop simulator thing, and it looks awesome. And I like what you said about it being, first iteration, sort of like a digital version of the box set, if you will. And like you said, I mean, there is so much potential. Some smart people are going to get a hold of that, and it's going to turn into something that has...
Exactly. Smart and talented people, neither of which are me. So, and full disclosure, I went out there and I pulled down all these different models, a bunch of different aircraft, started loading stuff in there, and then realized, I'm like, you know what? It isn't about seeing the 3D model. It's about the rest of the game and the rest of the pieces, like the clouds, boom chits, being able to feel like you're there, even if you are only playing 109s versus Spitfires. We'll figure out the rest of the model stuff later. And hopefully that won't
it's Mark 1 Mod 0 right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all the stuff we playing with started with Pong, man. So, hey, come on.
That's true. Well, and the other cool thing is it's a great playtest machine. So it's been good to go in there and to throw some of the Vietnam models in. And Roz has done an awesome job supplying me with Vietnam models so that we've been able to go in there and try out some of the potential playtest rules there and work through that. And, of course, that is a slippery slope in and of itself, because conveniently about the time that I imported all the Vietnam models into Tabletop Simulator, my Vietnam resin showed up. So Dave Schmid, true to his word, was delayed by about 4 weeks. I got the stuff, very shortly after he shipped it. It's beautiful. Oh my God, the F4 is huge in 1/200th, so I can now back up the comments that everyone's made of maybe we should have thought of changing scales going to Vietnam. But I'll tell you right now, painting up F4s, F105s, F8s in Vietnam is going to be interesting. And I'll tell you right now, Brett, I know I promised you that I was going to send you the F105s. I don't know that I can. Those sculpts are so nice. I want to do them myself. Even though it'll take me 10 times as long as it would take you, I really want to do them. It's cool resin. So Dave has done a great job with the Vietnam era stuff.
I can't wait to see him. How big's that F4?
Big. I mean, it's twice the size of a Spitfire. So let's put it in frame of reference there. So it's a big. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I like that big chunk of resin and it being a fighter and not just being a bomber out there.
Doesn't sound too big.
Yeah, it's not prohibitively big. So I'll be interested as I get them, get the bases cut up, get them magnetized the way I do the bases, and we'll see how it fits on the Advantage stand. But they are not small, so it's going to be interesting to play with those, and hopefully here in at least a couple months we'll get back to physical games.
John, you see why we need these pilot skill discs?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Yes, I do.
exactly. We have terrible habits. All right, well, let's talk about a couple things real quick with the TTS release, with the solo release, and then we'll move on to some listener questions. The first thing I want to say is that we have absolutely engaged Warlord about it to make sure both Andy and Warlord are good with everything we're doing. Our intent is not to duplicate anything Warlord's doing. We're not trying to go out there and fill in every model and try to take away from what their releases are. We really want this to be a project they want to collaborate on, and a project that they see the value of. And if they transition to some point producing a DLC version that costs to download because they're taking their 3D models and their time and their effort and applying it to that, Lead Pursuit's all behind that. This is a collaborative community. We know it also takes money to run businesses. So Warlord's going to have to figure out what their part of the whole model is. But the good thing, if you go out there and you look at whether it's what's on there for Bolt Action, what's on there for 40K, what's on there for various other board games that people play, whether it's Settlers or a lot of the other things, you'll find that there's both sanctioned and unsanctioned models, and generally, other than the big monster of GW, not a lot of people really get hacked off and pissed off about IP out there. Because people are trying to drive interest in those game systems in a virtual system. Because most people who go out there and want to maintain a model collection want pretty painted ones. Digital ones don't help them out so much. It feeds scratches a little bit of the itch, feeds a little bit of the addiction, but not as much as having that model that you've painted yourself. So.
Well, you guys can be proud though. You kick that ball down the hill, and it's just going to go roll, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, Chris will tell you that's actually all I'm good for. Is I'm an idea man. I don't actually carry anything across the finish line. I just sit in a staff meeting and go, "Hey, has anyone thought of?" And then expect my.
You're a good idea fairy, you son of a bitch.
Doug,
I totally am a good idea fairy.
Doug's a non-throwing quarterback.
Oh, that hurts. Wow.
He's really good at sitting in the huddle, smacking you on the ass, and saying, "Hey, I'm going to hand you a ball. Go run through those big guys."
Good game.
I think there are many majors and lieutenant colonels in the Marine Corps that would agree with that. That sadly is a very good description.
But hey, I tell you what, those guys win Super Bowls too.
Yeah.
They get the ring, man. They get the ring.
This guy's playing for the Cowboys.
Oh!
Hey, man, Dilfer.
Yeah.
You're the Trent Dilfer of Blood Red Skies.
Oh, God. Oh, I wish I'd never said that. I'm now going to go hang my head in shame. All right. Well, besides talking about my embarrassing inability to get it across the finish line. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the listener questions that are out there. Some of it's kind of generic. People are always asking, hey, what's the best sleeve, or what's the best carrier, or what's the best, some of these components that aren't readily available on Warlord's site. And I know, Chris, you and Brett have used standard baseball card style holders for the large, aircraft cards.
Yes.
And so I've used the standard 2.5 by 3.5 ones from a couple different companies, all of them available off Amazon. But the mini European board game company, or board game size ones, what has everyone found? I use Fantasy of Flights just because they're cheap and I can get a huge pack of them. What does everyone else use?
I'm using generic ones off of Amazon, just picked in that size, and I haven't found any one that's any better than the other. I think I've ordered them from 3 different places already, like packs of 50, and they've all been good.
John, what have you used?
I was fortunate enough to I had to be over back in New York last year doing some stuff and demos, and it was a comic book store, and I went over to the section. I'm like, hey, these fit just perfect for my Cruel Seas and my Blood Red Skies. So I think they're just generic crap right out of the box. And
the only reason I use the ones from Fantasy Flight is simply just because they come in packs of 500 or something stupid like that. So I've been producing or been boxing up stuff to drop off as demo games with some of my friends that own game stores. And so when all of a sudden I find myself with all of the starter set cards plus an expansion or 2 or whatever, I'm going to go play with these guys. All of a sudden I need a bunch of card sleeves. So
yeah, me buying them in a pack of 50s comes down to the fact that I can't plan my own addiction. So it's like, oh, I only need 50 of those. And it's like, well, I need another 50 now. Now I need another 50.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's why I buy.
Hey, man, you got any more of them card sleeves out there, man? I could use some card sleeves.
So I think I know what we're shipping back to John. Hey, thanks for loaning us, or for sending us the models to paint, and thanks for loaning us a game. We're going to send you some
I got the
sleeves.
real sturdy ones from my squadron cards just because they don't bend or anything. I tend to like those, but those wouldn't be practical for
I don't like. They don't feel right playing with them. I don't know what it is. I kind of like having the thinner card sleeves for putting them down on the table. I don't know. It's just.
I got a couple of those really hard, clunky ones that actually have magnets in them for like your really expensive baseball cards. I ran into like 20 of those like super cheap on Amazon at one time, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna give those a try. And it's like super overkill, but they are pretty cool. So if you had like your choice airplanes, you know, and you were only going to freaking the con with like one Air Force, they look pretty sweet. But they're way overkill.
You don't have to call them baseball card sleeves. We know they're the Magic the Gathering sleeves, and that's what you bought. So.
God, I walked right into that.
You did.
Dude.
You totally walked into that one. Love you like a brother.
You just got me right back for the Dilfer comment.
I did. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why we like the Lead Pursuit podcast, because we can insult each other.
It's like clubbing baby seals in this room.
It is.
We have links to those cards, the ones we've purchased on our list of stuff, right?
So if you go out to the Lead Pursuit podcast, which is leadpursuit.net, you'll see the link to resources. Click on that, and then it'll have a couple different card sleeves listed out there, and then obviously all the paints, all the different things we've talked about on the show. It'll give you a link directly to either it on Amazon, if it's generic like what a lot of the stuff we buy off Amazon is, or take you to specific game sites like Pico Armor to go find the terrain we use, take you to Litco when we talk about the markers, stuff like that.
Holy crap, guys. I gotta, maybe it's the Jameson, I don't know, but you guys think about where you were 6 months ago, a year, and now look at Lead Pursuit now. You guys have done phenomenal work. You've advanced the hobby phenomenally. It's an honor and privilege to be in the same chat room with you guys. You guys have just killed it, and it's just great. And I think it's just, sometimes I think, anybody can do this, but no, not just anybody can do this. And you guys are just killing it with your skills, your knowledge, and the way that you banter about it. I think it's phenomenal. And you guys really need to get some kudos, and bravo Zulu, you guys have done phenomenal work, and thanks for being around and letting me come on and steal some of your time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we appreciate it. I mean, thanks for all the support that both you on the U.S. side with Warlord and then Warlord UK has given us, because really between Warlord and Andy, you've both given us a lot of free reign, and you've allowed us to be independent and to give you guys the finger when we feel like we ought to. And you've also allowed us to suck up to you and go, hey, man, can I get some of that new resin? Exactly. And you've been really good about that. So thanks for supporting us. We appreciate it. We're just trying to do right by the hobby and right by the community. And hopefully all this swag that I acquired for Adepticon will hand out at the show one of these times. Otherwise, I'm going to have a lot of swag to be playing games with.
Well, I think that's a brilliant segue. The suggestion of doing it in Indianapolis in June or July or maybe even September, I think freaking brilliant. Just make it a day or a weekend of just nothing but Blood Red Skies panels and stuff. I don't know if Andy can come over in a short notice, but it's the start. You got to start somewhere, and why not have a day or two, a weekend, find a place that's centrally located. I think the schedule would be fine. Right now, my con schedule is kind of open.
It's weird. My schedule's kind of open as well. So I got to give credit where credit's due. Rick Tab has been driving that train. He's been driving the train, and that's one of those things that the listeners a lot of times come back to us with good ideas, and sometimes their ideas were like, hey, that's an awesome idea, now's not the time for it. Or in this case, Rick had said, hey, okay, we all lost out on Adepticon. When do we think the next earliest opportunity to set something up and do just something for Blood Red Skies? Let's hang out with the people that we know want to play the same game, and sure, we'll drag some bolt action players in there and show them why they should like little airplanes. But he'd thrown out, said, hey, do we want to do something in June? Do we want to do something later in September? I know there'll be a lot of planning. And at the end of the day, we are at the mercy of, what various state and local governments and everyone does in reaction to the COVID-19 crisis. But the fact is, we're always happy when listeners contact us with good ideas and go, hey, I'll take the ball and I'll run with this, but what do you think? Is this something that Warlord and Lead Pursuit and everyone can get behind? And absolutely, we're always looking for good ideas that we can put out and say, hey guys, what do you think about June? And so I'm going to laugh if everyone comes back and goes, John, you and Doug are idiots. We're not going to do anything in June. Then we'll go, Roger that. We're all idiots. Hey, Rick, guess what we're not doing in June?
Fire, shift fire.
Yeah, exactly. And we will. We'll just shift to something later, and we'll pick a good date that works for everybody, and do something in the Midwest area for Blood Red Skies, because we've been kind of beating it up in the Southeast. I know that this fall, we knock on my wood desk here, we will be at Crucible, which is so close to Brett that if Brett doesn't show up for Crucible, I will never speak to him again.
That's right, bastard.
It's right there. It's not even a commute.
October 9th, 10th, 11th, right?
Yes.
I got to use my flight voucher before January for whatever we're going to do.
You can take a flight from Jacksonville to Orlando.
No, come on.
It'll take you longer to get your bags.
Use that for something good, man.
I won't be able to probably be there because I'll probably be up, if everything holds, I'll be up in Michigan GT because we've really started, and that's where the old Chris story comes in. But, I mean...
I was about to say, yeah, we can send Chris back up there so you guys
I'll
can...
be at Michigan GT with you.
We'll do that, and then, but I can send Eric and probably the Fighting Kentuckian down there to Crucible, and of course Patrick Bollinger's down there as well. So there's no reason why we can't divide and conquer.
Well, Eric took great care of us at Coastal Con, so it was good to be set up right next to him. Absolutely was a good piece of teamwork there, that we could sit there and demo the game for him, free him up to actually talk to people about the models and about the games, and match that up, because I know Brett and I had a good time standing there doing that.
Yeah, that reminds me. It was at Coastal Con. I bought some of those new Blood Red Skies base weights from them, and
yeah,
I like them. I like them a lot. We used them for the metal Stukas. I think I was having some trouble getting them to stand up because they're heavy. But the base weights work great. I only mention it because this is our debrief section, and there was a recent listener question on the Ready Room asking, hey, has anybody used these? What do you think about them? So I think they're awesome. I use them for those. I don't think you could probably get much heavier than a metal Stuka, and they work fine.
I think those stands work great, and I think the good part is they already have the hole drilled through them so that you can just push out the pilot disc as you need to. Some of the people ask, hey, can't I use either lead flashing material, or can I use just a regular washer? Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I've done that where I've used a washer and blue tack to hold it in place. I don't think it's as elegant a solution as the Blood Red Skies one. Is it a cheaper solution? Yes. Does it work? Yes. Can you still pry the pilot disc out? Usually. But man, if you want to not have to borrow your neighbor's drill press to put a hole in your washer, go buy the one from Warlord.
Well, and they'll work real good when we do the Big Red Skies. We start doing this 172nd stuff from.
Oh, don't. You see, now I'm gonna burn all the good will that I've built with Andy. I'm gonna burn when you bring up big Red Skies. I don't know what everyone else's opinion is, and I'm not gonna worry about that. But I'm still not convinced. I'll have to play it. When I play it, then maybe I'll go, that's a good idea. Because right now I'm like, that's a terrible idea.
I get the 109.
But we'll see. Yeah, I know everyone's going to just cry to absolutely go out and get the Airfix models.
Yeah, I will say that when we were at Michigan GT last year, I think you had a Corsair there, John. Seeing that Corsair fly across Tarawa and that scale the same as the Blood Red Sky, it was pretty badass.
So let's dwell on that for a second.
And Michael Adams painted that model.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, let's dwell on the scale just for a second, because this is where all the goodwill I've tried to make. I'm going to call Big Red Skies Stollard's Folly. And it's kind of like Seward's Folly, but it's not a state. So we'll see. My concern is the scale, guys. My concern is even with the 1/72nd scale model, it doesn't feel zooming.
No, I agree with you too, because I'm thinking the scale issue, but I'll say that if you're a bolt action player and there's something really realistic about having those guys fly in for a turn and do something and then fly out of there. That's sexy as hell. But to get that moment, yeah, you're talking some cash, but we're stupid. We do things like that. I mean, I buy Titans. So well, yeah,
you are
we're
stupid.
dumb.
We know you have
so
if we can keep that box set, sorry guys, if we can keep that box set around $50-$60 and you get 2 1/72 scale Spitfires and 2 1/72 scale BF 109s, and everything else is the same. Money.
Yeah, I think it will have a cool factor. My only concern is when I'm playing it, because right now playing it with the movement scale the way it is, and moving a Spitfire feels like I'm zooming across the cliffs of Dover. I don't know when the model now becomes, functionally 3 times as large. Is it still going to have that same feel for moving the same distance?
Yeah.
So we'll have to see.
Well, and it's just, you guys are the Games Workshop kind of things. Just think of it like Epic down to 40K down to Inquisitor. That's what it's going to be. So now we'll do the Swarm coming in for the the Battle of Britain, but then when we do the big Red Skies, it's Johnny Johnson and Galland, and then they have a little extra panache, and they have a little extra je ne sais, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, but we can really ramp up the Sailor Milan or Galland or the guys there with his wingman, and that gets down to the really nitty gritty. And that's maybe what we can do with it.
Yeah, just think about putting that in a campaign. That'd be awesome. Like in addition to a regular Blood Red Skies campaign where you get 2 guys squaring off or something. That's awesome.
It definitely will be interesting to see. I'm just going to go in with my reservations, but that's okay. I think I trust Andy and I trust Warlord to give it the old college try and to make it as fun as they can. And if they have to tweak and change some things and they may have to do that, then I trust they'll do it. So
telling me is you're throwing down the gauntlet, so whenever I get that beta test, you want me to kick it over to you. Is that what you're telling me?
You better, because I'll go back to being a freaking... I'm already basically a 12-year-old kid. I mean, I hang out in pajamas all day anyway and watch TV. It's not... So if I hang out in pajamas all day and paint 1/72 scale models, it's no different.
Sounds super special. Don't forget to change your thing at 9 o'clock. I got to change it at night.
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock is the time to go from day pajamas to night pajamas. Yep.
I can tell you people aren't remote workers. There are no rules. You do not have to change.
Oh, the funniest thing happened the other day. One of my buddies, his wife works for State Farm. Her name's Susan, and she's working from home, and she had put a sign on the door that says, "Please stay out. I'm working right now." Susan from State Farm, and I just had to do it. I was like, "Hey, Susan from State Farm, what are you wearing? Pajamas?"
Yeah. Yes, in fact. The tough life of a remote worker. All right. Well, the good thing is we've been talking for a while. We've covered a lot of different issues here. John, it's been good to have you on. It's always great to sit there and to get to BS with you and abuse you and throw the barbs back and forth. Anything you want to share with us? Any other questions you've had or other issues in the last couple of weeks that you need to bring up to the podcast? It
came to me today as I was doing, on Wednesdays I do my Warlord Wednesday update on our Facebook page, the U.S. Warlord demo page. And I was reading through some of the cancellations of the conventions, and I didn't want it to start feeling like you see in the movies or some of us screwed up during Vietnam, the casualty list at night on the news. I understand.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling between cons and aircraft events.
and I get it, but folks, we'll get through this. We're sharing, we're exploring. Adepticon has discovered it with Adepticant that there is a virtual way to experience Adepticon that next year will make Adepticon even better than it is. The response of all the people, not a single negative comment on Adepticon when they had to cancel. And Adepticant kicked in, and Lynn Stahl and Head Miniatures and all those guys really went nuts, and James did a bunch of stuff, and it was phenomenal, the elasticity and the bounce back of this hobby that we have. Warlord is not up right now, but the web store is up. You can check it out, make your orders. Be advised, just like Litko says, it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks additionally to the usual flex we have of getting orders. We'll try. We're talking today and tomorrow about trying to figure out how we can come up in a minimum capacity, multiple shifting. We're still working through some gyrations. We're all there. And we will get there, and there's new things coming. Make sure you watch the newsletter. It's once a week now instead of twice a week because we're trying to refine. But send us your ideas. Send us your inputs. Some of the releases, like our Stalingrad release and the Victory at Sea release, will be pushed back, but it's coming. It just gives us a little more time to breathe, to focus in on it. We'll get through this. Check on your buddies. Check on your gaming buddies. Give them a call. Us guys in the military had the old call tree, phone tree, or recall roster. Call your buddies, check on them. Maybe do a game over line. Come up with something. Maybe even if you can get a video up and move things around. We'll get through this. We'll be stronger on the other side. We can do this, and just hang in there and check in your friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Roger and Ken and I even jumped on just Facebook Messenger chat just to catch up. It was we were supposed to talk a little bit of playtesting. We were supposed to talk some gaming things, but absolutely check up on your buddies and sit around, BS a little bit, talk about all the games you would have played and how you would have totally crushed them, and then move on to other things. Chris, anything from you before we close out today?
I am good, man. I mean, we said everything, and you were talking about Adepticon, John. I think everybody who was who went to it or was going to go to Adepticon got the email from them the other day. They've got the option where you can donate your stuff, and still get all your merchandise, or get a cart payback if you can afford it. And I'm not paid by Adepticon. I have no loyalty to Adepticon other than they run a freaking great event. If you can afford it, walk away from it. Just let them keep the cash. I asked them for my merchandise, and that's only because I'd like that small portion of Adepticon. I want my cup and I want my dice.
Do you know why I
just
didn't?
So I can remember what didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to see the cup and cry every time.
So I just
keep the merchandise.
I won the VIP thing, and I let him keep it, but I was kind of bumming. I was like, "Oh man, I won the lottery."
Dude, you shouldn't. That you shouldn't have done.
No. And that's the things I'll say is everybody is going to make a different decision for them, and so we're not here to pass judgment or sit there and go, "No, man, you gotta donate everything." Or for some people, they need the money back because they work a seasonal, non-essential,
or you're laid off right
job.
now, and that's
exactly.
you need that money back.
Oh yeah, no
make
judgment.
Make a small choice for you.
For me, it just felt like a dick move to have them send me all that stuff from the VIP or VIG bag. So
that's kind of also being a guy who's had to ship stuff all over the U.S. to a couple of you assholes. I'm like, man, I know how much shipping is going to cost for them to send my swag to me, so let's not do that.
So you didn't want those extra airplanes we put in there for Blood Red Skies? Is that it in the VIG bag?
Yeah, no, I wanted all that stuff.
Exactly.
Trust me.
Yeah, because Brett needs more airplanes.
Yeah, by the way, Brett, that stuff I sent you, there was something for the other guys in there, too. So make sure that Chris and Doug get their little presents in there that I sent in there.
Oh, yeah, I'm enjoying mine right now. I have to figure out how they're going to get theirs.
Don't even want to know. La, la, la. Brett, are you wearing Ranger panties right now? Wait, no, we don't need to know.
Man, Ranger pajamas.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks, guys. Brett, any last closing comments from you? Any spirits?
Yeah, when are we making our Tabletop Simulator game night?
Yeah. So I think that's the problem is now I've created a problem that I'm going to be playing this thing. So by the time this posts, you should be able to go out to Steam, log into the Steam client, go look in the workshop for Tabletop Sim. You'll see the Blood Red Skies starter kit in there. You can play with that. And then should you choose that you really want to beat up on Brett and I, you can figure out what night we're playing, jump on Discord with us, chat with us, and then beat us up on Steam. So I think it'll be fun. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out. I know even though we all joke and say that we're on quarantine, we're on lockdown, we're on social distancing, that we have a lot of free time. I know there's still family demands. There's kids that have to have parent time. There's, in my case, cats that need to be kicked. I mean, there's cats that need their love too. The fact is, we all know there's time and demand on everyone's time. So thanks for everyone for spending the time with us. And John, always good to hear from you.
See you guys later.
Absolutely. We'll catch up with all the listeners around the interwebs.